Real wages falling at the fastest rate since 2001. That equals pay cuts for many, Minister. How is the coalition strong on the economy, which is what you claim, given those numbers?
Well, look, we're facing enormous international challenges at present. You saw overnight that the UK's inflation rate's now up to 9%. We've been keeping ours below not just the UK, but the US, Germany, Italy, Canada, New Zealand. And indeed, we've been ensuring that real wages in Australia have been performing more strongly than most of those other comparable nations. And so the outcomes in Australia are demonstration that against these huge international pressures, we are outperforming. But as a government, we've recognised that the pressures in some households are real. It's why in the budget just before this election campaign we delivered cost of living relief in the form of halving the petrol excise, cash payments to pensioners and others on fixed incomes. The fact that for many Australians, when they lodge their tax returns, they'll get up to $1,500 back.
But with respect, none of that's working.
These are all important, and well, it does actually work. It is providing real extra disposable income into households, as the tax cuts and tax relief we've already delivered are providing. And Labor, if they'd had their way, people would be $50 a week worse off because those tax cuts wouldn't have happened. And in the next term, we've outlined plans in this election campaign, plans that ensure we provide cheaper medicines, more support for seniors, more support for Australians to get into their homes sooner and to pay rent for a shorter period of time and pay those homes off quicker, as well as further waves of tax relief that will ensure around 95% of Australians pay no more than 30 cents in the dollar as their top income tax. These are concrete plans. Anthony Albanese doesn't have those sorts of plans. He doesn't have an economic plan. All he has is the stunt saying he'll write a letter with a figure that he sort of agreed to under pressure in an interview attached to it. That's not an economic plan. That's just an irresponsible act. Again, our plans are to make sure that businesses can be more profitable, take our small business plans to ensure small businesses get tax deductions to invest in skills, get higher tax deductions to invest in technology. This is about making those businesses more profitable so they can afford to pay their staff more, so they're more productive, versus the absence on the Labor side. Our policies have got unemployment down to near 50-year lows, and that's what's going to provide the decent springboard. Labor's approach would risk higher unemployment, and you want to worry about cost of living pressures now. Well, it would be far, far worse if you had higher unemployment, higher taxes and a bigger spending Labor government forcing up interest rates.
Wages will go backwards for another 18 months, though. That's the expectation. How much worse off will workers be this and next year?
Pete, that is why we're going to continue to focus on the things government has within its control.
But how much worse off will they be?
Extra disposable. Well, ultimately it's about ensuring the disposable income for households is there too. And so that's where tax relief plays such a big role. It's where those additional payments such a role. It's where ensuring that we don't face the worst of those international circumstances. You know, in the US,
do you know how much per person per worker?
Well, Pete, I can't predict every aspect of the future, but I can tell you that our plans are about providing that effective cost of living relief to Australia.
Unions have put a figure on it, though, Minister. They say $4,000 per worker they'll be worse off this year. Is that the number that you're working towards?
Well, Pete, I know that if we didn't have the tax cuts and tax relief our government had provided in the next wave that will come, workers would be many, many thousands of dollars worse off. And I know that the Labor Party wanted to oppose that, initially did oppose that, and they've had to be dragged kicking and screaming to suggest that they would support it. But if I were an Australian voter, I wouldn't be trusting Anthony Albanese to deliver tax cuts that he opposed all along and only at the last minute before an election says he supports. That suggests to me that he doesn't believe in those tax cuts. They're the things that governments can control to put more dollars in the pockets of Australian workers. We can't control international inflationary pressures. We can't control the oil price spikes caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But we can control things such as Australia's tax settings. We can control the way in which we support Australian businesses to be more profitable through those tax settings. They're the things that we are pursuing as a government, a clear economic plan. Anthony Albanese has shown he doesn't have an economic plan and he doesn't understand the economy. Even this morning in interviews, he suggested or said quite clearly Australia's borders are still closed. They've been open for months and more than 900,000 people have arrived. I mean, just Add that to the litany of mistakes he's made in not knowing the unemployment rate, not knowing the interest rate, not understanding wages policy, not understanding his disability policy, and now not realising even that Australia's international borders reopened months ago and 900,000 people have arrived since.